In the Mix provides artists with the opportunity to collaborate with students across all of our programs, explore art as activism, discuss social justice issues that are important to them, and showcase their own creative work. And they will be doing all of this within a podcast that they have developed and produced themselves and will be recording today.
Hi, I'm London, and this is the In the Mix podcast, where we talk about real world problems from a different perspective.
Passion, emboldened,
fun,
empowered.
It takes a village.
Community expression.
Keep going.
Inspirational.
The opportunity.
Motivational.
Captivating.
Heartfelt.
Aspire up to.
Unity.
In the mix, in the mix, in the mix, in the mix.
Welcome to In the Mix podcast, where we talk about real-world problems through our unique perspectives as young artists and activists in the making. My name is Kendall.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jordan.
Hi, everybody. My name is Trent.
My name is Autumn.
Hi, my name's Sajil.
What are your feelings on racism today and its history?
I feel that racism is bad.
I think that racism is bad because people should not be judged by their skin color and how they feel about it.
I agree on what Jordan said. I think that black people should be treated the same way as white people, and that white people aren't different from black people, or if you're just not white at all, because there's no difference between us besides our skin color.
I think that history should be about what we learn about and not be about skin colors, because skin color is just a way to show how you feel and how you are, and just to get to know people the way that if you wanted to be treated the way that other people will understand, go ahead, because it's your opinion and what you have to say and what your heart feels and what you desire.
Hi, my name is Trent, and the question is, what are some ways people combat racism artistically?
What I think about some ways that people fought about racism, one of the people is Martin Luther King, because he thought that everyone should be equally. And the main speech that was very common was "I had a dream," and it was about how people should be equally and not just one way instead of another.
I agree with what Jordan said, because people had marches and they, like she said, they had the I have a dream speech, and they did things to try to stop racism.
I agree with what everybody has to say, because I know why they fought. Some people also fought because they wanted everything to be fair, because some people didn't have what other people had. So they all wanted to have it equally, but some people just weren't letting it happen.
I agree with everybody. In my opinion, another way people express racism, combat racism artistically, is through poems.
People fought for their country, so they did speeches, poems, songs, and for what they had to do in order for all white people and black people to be equal instead of just one-sided.
And now, here's Sajil Lee presenting a poem that is very close to his heart.
My name's Sajil, and today I'll be reading the poem "The Negro Mother." Children, I come back today to tell you a story of a long, dark way that I had to climb, that I had to know in order that the race might live and grow. Look at my face, dark as the night, yet shining like the sun with love's true light. I'm the dark girl who crossed the Red Sea, carrying in my body a seed of the free. I am the woman who worked in the field, bringing the cotton and the corn to yield. I am the one who labored as a slave, beaten and mistreated for the work that I gave. Children sold from me, my husband sold too. No safety, no love, no respect, I was due. 300 years in the deepest south, but God put a song and a prayer in my mouth. God put a dream like steel in my soul. Now, through my children, I'm reaching the goal.
Disclaimer: The photos displayed throughout the entire episode are from a workshop where award-winning author Tracy Michelle Lewis Giggets, author of Black Joy, Stories of Resistance, Resilience, and Restoration, talks with our In the Mix kids alongside Our Voice group about her acclaimed book and sparking conversation about what Black Joy looks like today and how it functions as a powerful form of resistance, restoration, and collective healing.
Hello, my name is Leah Harvey, and what was the thought of the book? Like, what do you want to teach the audience?
That's a very good question. You know what? Honestly, the first book, Black Joy, I was really doing what we've talked about here, which is tell my story. Right? I had to figure out how I located joy for myself before I go around start telling people that they needed to amplify their joy or access joy. So the first book was really me looking back over my life and writing these essays that talked about my life and the places where I figured out that I had joy, but I just didn't know what it was or how to hold on to it. So I, again, started with my own story and started talking about it, and then started doing research and started to realize, oh, my ancestors been doing this, right? They've been locating joy. They've been having joy in the midst of great pain and trauma. And then that's when I started, writing more from a, a nonfiction standpoint, right? But in the beginning, it was just about me telling my story.
Hi, my name is Lillian McLeod, and I wanted to know, what did you enjoy most when you were writing about Black Joy?
You know what, I tell people all the time that writing Black Joy was probably the period of time where I felt the most free in my life, because I got rid of the little people on my shoulder that was telling me, oh, you have to write this way. So I got rid of mama and them that was telling me, you have to use certain language and, because they were churchy and so you had to do this. I got rid of them. I got rid of, white people that wanted me to write in a particular way. I just decided to be myself on the page, and so it was the most freeing experience. So when I'm telling the story about being 14 and my first love in high school and all the ups and downs of that, I could totally put all of my emotions on the page without fear of what somebody might think of how I was feeling in that moment. And that, to me, the freedom was the most beautiful thing about writing the book.
Hi, my name is Lyndon Rogers. How do we focus on the joys of being a person of color when we are constantly targeted? How can we stay appreciative?
That's a very good question, because it's hard, especially when you're getting hit nearly every day with something that's attacking who you are. But you have to be intentional, meaning that it has to be part of the things that you do to keep yourself steady, right? So I tell people to write joy into their day, right? Like if you have to go to school and you have an after school program or whatever it is, that you might include, I'm just gonna turn on, my favorite song for 5 minutes and just dance in my room because I need to get it out of my body. Or I'm going to write my friend, or I'm gonna text my friend, whatever it is, write joy into your day and be intentional about it, because the thing is that stuff is going to be there. It's maybe more intense nowadays, but it's still there, and it's going to be the thing, and you're always going to be encountering things that are pushing up against who you are authentically. And so you have to be intentional about countering that with your joy at every moment that you can, right? And it may not be always, right? But if you say, every day I'm going to do this, or try to create some discipline around your joy, it will make the other emotions and all the other stuff a lot easier to manage.
Hi, my name is Zara Bethea, and my question is, what is something you would tell to your younger self?
You're enough. Mm-hmm. I think I spent a lot of time as a young person not believing that I was good enough, or not believing that I was too much on one hand and not enough in the other. And I wish I could go back, or I can, because I do, tell young Tracy, number one, you're going to be okay. We get this in the end, right? But also, you are enough as you are, right? Everything about you is wonderful and beautiful, and you don't necessarily have to contort yourself or bend over backwards to be something for everyone else around you. You can be 100% yourself and that be okay.
Hi, my name is Naima, and my question for you is, so it's kind of long, but how do you instill joy in others and balance it for yourself, and how do you handle types of mistreatment while not caring what people think about you?
So the hard part of that is that you can't instill joy in other people, right? You can be joy in the midst of people, right? And we just, demonstrated how joy can be contagious, right? You can't make anybody feel joy. Like you can't make anybody do that work, but you can be joy around someone so that they feel safe and comfortable enough to be joy, to express their joy around you. To the second part of your question, the reality is that mistreatment will come, especially when people, I will say especially when you begin to walk in your authentic self, when you are 100% yourself. A lot of times that mistreatment, because people don't understand it, sometimes they're jealous of it. They want that for themselves, so they project their insecurities onto you. But the truth of the matter is, when you know who you are, and you're comfortable with that, and you're willing to take some of the rejection that may come with that, because it will come, then you open up the rest of your life to all those people who get you, all those, all your people, right? You begin to open your life to the things that will bring you joy. And so it is a balancing act, and nobody does it perfectly. And sometimes you get caught up in like, man, I wish they liked me, or I wish I didn't have to go through that. I wish they weren't always talking about me. You will feel that. But feelings aren't necessarily facts, right? They're just feelings. And so you get to feel those things and still make a different choice. You can still be yourself, even though you may feel like you really want that. You know what I mean?
Did you ever feel like a regret in the middle of you writing your first book?
If I'm hearing you right, are you saying did I have any other feelings besides?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Because here's the thing: when I tell my story is very much connected to the other people in my life, right? And so there were lots of times where I was hesitant, because if I tell what happened to me when I was 10 years old, then I gotta sort of kind of tell other people that were involved in that thing that happened to me, right? And that was extremely hard to do. I pushed through it. I made the decision that it's my story, it's my truth, I get to tell it. But it wasn't without a lot of pain, a lot of tears, a lot of hesitation, a lot of let me put this down and come back to it, let me go to another story and come back to it. There was a lot of that. But at the end of the day, the freedom that I felt overrode everything else that might have been coming up too.
One question, this is a very personal question for me, because I'm trying to write a book of my own about an autistic Black girl like myself. And so it's like a whole triple threat. Like, you're a woman, you're Black, and you have a disability. And so how would you, what was I know your inspiration for your book was your daughter, you said, right?
One of them, yes.
One of your inspirations were your daughter. How would you find inspiration to write a book about one of your experiences?
One of the things that I always tell folks is that sit down and write. Sometimes we make it more complicated than it has to be. We think, okay, like you said, I'm a triple threat, or I have these intersections, right, of my life where I'm Black, I'm a woman, I'm autistic, and all of these things are influencing how I see the world, right? And so that story is so powerful in of itself, then the inspiration is already built in. You already have the stories from your life. And what you need to do is to sit down and put it down on paper. Don't worry about editing it. Don't worry about it being perfect. Don't worry about it. Am I going to get it published? Who's going to see it? Who's going to, like it? At that stage, it's about getting the story out of you and getting it on the page. Then once you do that, you're revising, you're reworking it, you're making it so that it will ultimately end up in whatever the end result is. It could be a book, it could be a film, it could be whatever it is. But start off with taking the story and being your authentic self and putting it down on the page, however it shows up.
What do you feel about the author of Black Joy? She was giving a lot of speeches, and that she was talking about why did she make the book, and we made a joy pie.
I agree with Trent, and I was going to say that she taught us what joy really meant. Like, it doesn't mean the same thing as happiness or what you feel when you get excited. It means, like, what brings you joy.
What I feel about Black Joy is that she really brought experience to everybody and what she really had to say and how she felt and what makes her comfortable and what makes she make herself, like, basically what she feels in her body and what she's comfortable doing and wearing and where she's at.
I feel about Black Joy is that she thought that Black Joy is important to others and not just the black people. It should be important to everybody.
What about what she said about how being happy is another way to fight against people who are racist? How do you guys feel about that?
What I feel about that is, like, I think it's true, but also we could, like, fight that in a different way. We could have made signs and also, like, we could experience ourselves and put our mind into what we feel and make signs to fight for what we want. And it's not everybody that's perfect, but we all still make a chance of what we have dreamed of.
If we keep joy and, like, stay happy and positive, we can get through anything.
I feel that the author of Black Joy wants to express how black people were being treated and inform people.
And now, our young artist, Jill, is going to interview 4 of his peer members with questions carefully thought out by our In the Mix crew.
That it's unfair, and I don't think people should be racist just because of the color of people's skin. Like, we're all human.
I feel like it should be stopped. I feel like it should be, but it can't because no one's perfect. I feel like racism is hereditary. It's like a virus, it spreads. I feel like racism, it's not just a choice, but you can't choose to be racist. You can't always choose to be racist because sometimes people are taught that way. Kind of similar to how homophobia is.
I feel like it's just wrong on so many levels. People shouldn't be, like, discriminated against people because they have a higher melanin scale.
I think racism, like, it's more than just about race. It's kind of more like how people treat other people just because of the color of your skin. I think racism, it can't be ultimately avoided because some people are just raised in that mindset that a certain race makes you better than another person. Or it's also just how it's unfortunately been since, like, the beginning of time, like, throughout history. I don't like it, but there's not much, like, you can't 100% change how it works or anything like that, but you can try and hopefully change people's view on it, or just, like, give them a better point of view of, like, just because I'm a little darker than you or a little lighter than you, it doesn't make me any less of a person than you are. Because at the end of the day, we're still people.
I think we could stop racism by, like, us all coming together, and instead of there being, like, black and white, like, basically, like, instead of there being segregation, we should, like, integrate a lot more.
Honestly, racism can't 100% be stopped because at the end of the day, that's just how people think and that's just how people are. But what you can do is hopefully try to change their view on it, or just make it seem that, hey, I may be black or I may be light skin, or I may be this, that, or the third, but I'm still a person just like you. I have the same brain as you. I could get the same degree as you. I could be a doctor just like you could. I could be a security guard just like you could. At the end of the day, the only difference a race really has is just how you look. And if you're so worried about how other people look, then you're not really going to be able to do what you need to do for yourself.
I just accepting people for who they are and not judging on how they look and like actually how like they treat people. Like I wouldn't be rude to somebody because they're like Mexican or like black, because it, like that's not really who they are. Like don't judge by its cover. Actually talk to somebody before you start judging them, and don't judge them based off like what they look like.
We can try our best to put an end to racism with methods like speech, with our words, with what we do, how we learn. We can continue to learn our history from what happened yesterday to what happened 50 years ago to what happened 1,000 years ago. We can continue to teach history and continue to believe that we can continue to teach and believe that racism can be stopped.
I actually don't know. I just felt like it's like really, really wrong for somebody who's like white to just like be rude to somebody who has brown skin. Something that I did hear while I was like learning about like racism and like the past and stuff was that white people thought that black people were not as superior as them because they have like darker skin, so they aren't as like glowy as them. Also because they thought that them having brown skin was them being quote unquote dirty, which is like bad.
Well, historically, because I actually take a couple of history classes, historically it's because of like manifest destiny. White people back then had this mindset that because they were white, it was their God-given right to change people to be like them and that they were the superior race. But then putting all that aside, currently I think white people still think the same way because of how historically embedded it is. It's not just like they woke up one day and said, hey, I'm gonna be racist. No, it's either they were raised that way or they just see historically that they think that's how it's supposed to be. And unfortunately for us, people of color, it makes it difficult to change their opinion. It's like growing up and thinking that 1 + 2 is 3, and that 1 + 2 is like 1, and then you go outside, everyone's saying it's 3. You're still gonna stand firm on that it's 1 or whatever because that's just how you think, that's how you were raised, that's how you grew up.
I remember my mother saying that most of the things that we do nowadays is hereditary. Jealousy is also another thing. After slavery, there are a whole lot of white people who are jealous that they can't use slaves. So they're going to mistreat us. They're going to call us any name or do whatever they can do, whether it's verbal abuse or physical abuse, to bring us down. And they have been doing that for years and years and they have not stopped.
I think white people treated black people differently because they saw like what black people were capable of and like what they did and how they worked. So they decided to use them to do all that stuff for them. I feel that today's world definitely has changed a lot because since like from I was little, there's been like a lot more racism in my opinion than there is today.
Right now, physically, I feel safe right now at the moment. I'm not the type of guy to go on the internet or open the news every day as I should. My grandparents and my father always tell me to, but I'm too lazy or whatever. But I know that the president I know that Donald Trump is in office again, and I voted for Kamala Harris, to be honest. I don't think Donald Trump really is a good president. It's my personal belief. I think racism is in his blood.
Before it was like really, really bad, where you couldn't even go to the same bathroom, where you couldn't drink out of the same water fountain, couldn't sit on the same, like in the same place, like in the same section as somebody as like a different skin color. But now it's more like okay, all right, and people who are being racist are being like accounted for. I feel like it's just better now than it was when it was before.
I think today's world is very complex. It's very complicated. It has its rough edges. I think there's so much that can be done, that needs to be done, that can be worked on. But I also feel like we have to be the people that make the change because other people aren't going to want to do it. So I have mixed feelings about it. Some parts of it are great. Some parts of it need a little help. But like, it's not supposed to be about, oh, I'm lighter than this person, or oh, I'm richer than this person. It's supposed to be that we're all people, and we're supposed to be living a life just as we're supposed to. So yeah.
And now our In the Mix crew will present their carefully thought out choreography based on the song Stand Up, performed by Cynthia Erivo, which you can see in the movie Harriet.
And now the rest of the In the Mix kids will dance to Stand Up.
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones. Early in the morning, before the sun begins to shine, we're gonna start moving towards that separating line. I'm wading through muddy waters. You know I got a made up mind, and I don't mind if I lose any blood on the way to salvation. And I fight with the strength that I got until I die. So I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. And I know what's around the bend.
What I felt about what we danced to is like history of what other people and more people went through, and is what we are expressing. We are expressing our feelings and how other people felt too, and sharing our ideas by dancing and collaborating with songs that made us feel like we are our own person.
I was gonna say, to continue on from what Jordan said, is that like we can express ourselves through dancing or through doing anything, and this song meant something, and like we were able to show what we wanted to show or express through our dance moves.
I agree with Kendall's. I would agree with Kendall said. Like, our moves was like represent the song was singing. We would like make movements to look like we're actually and like doing.
How I feel about the poem that I read, I felt good.
How I feel about In the Mix is that we learn all different types of history, and we do a lot of fun stuff. We learn about history.
How I feel about In the Mix, I feel good that we got to express how we feel about racism, slavery, sexism, and others.
I agree because every word we said, it meant something.
Everything we said in our history is about what had happened in the past and what we're talking about now and how we feel.
I agree, and it's like expressing yourself.
And do you guys feel like you would want to continue talking about these kinds of things through art?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe. Absolutely.
Today's guest was Tracy Michelle Lewis Giggets. The host was Jordan, Amaya, Autumn, Kendall, Trent, and Hajil. The interviewees were Hajil, Cheyenne, London, Zara, Lillian, Amaya, and Lael. The teaching artists were myself, Dennis Velasco, and Barbara Townsend as child psychologist. Supporting members are Ro Bell. We hope you have enjoyed this episode of In the Mix. Thank you once again for stopping by and listening to our children talk about their future and the change they want to make.